Charlie Daniels was a country music legend, best known to the world for his work with his band, the Charlie Daniels Band. Their biggest hit remains The Devil Went Down to Georgia, which has been a staple in not only country music, but popular music as well. In 2020, Charlie tragically passed away from a stroke. His son went on to detail the episode, which he described as the worst time of his life. Join Facts First, as Charlie Daniels' true cause of death has been confirmed by his son. On the morning of July 6, 2020, country music legend Charlie Daniels passed away. The legendary country musician and head of the Charlie Daniels Band was 83 and had apparently been suffering from health problems for about a decade. The thing that ended up killing the musician was a stroke. Charlie had already had a stroke previously, which he survived. As a result of that first stroke, as well as other medical symptoms, the legend was put on blood thinners. Ironically, Charlie Daniels' son has since come to blame these blood thinners for his father's death. According to his son, watching his father die has been the worst time of his life so far. Given that Charlie Jr. is nearly 60 years old himself, this is saying something. Charlie Jr. has since recounted the tragic tale of watching his father die, which began with a phone call from his mother. According to Charlie Jr., he received a call in the early morning hours of July 6, 2020. At first, when his mother told him his father was seriously ill, Charlie Jr. feared his father might have contracted COVID-19. This was towards the beginning of the pandemic. Charlie Jr. was initially relieved when he found out it wasn't the virus, but his relief quickly turned to fear when he realized whatever was afflicting his father was likely something worse. Charlie Jr. has recounted how he came into his parents' house after receiving the phone call from his mother and found his father slouched down in his chair. Charlie Daniels' son then had a sinking feeling, realizing something was drastically wrong. He tried to communicate with his father, asking him if he could breathe. With all his effort, Charlie Daniels managed to nod and convey to his son he was still breathing, but it wasn't for long. Charlie passed away quickly after arriving at the hospital. Charlie Jr. called emergency services while his mother called their heart doctor. It was this heart doctor who first suggested to the woman and her son that the musician was likely suffering from a stroke. The ambulance came and took the singer to the hospital, where they tried their best to save him, but there ended up being not much they could do. Charlie Daniels had survived a stroke once previously, and it seems the reason he wasn't able to survive the second one was because of the blood thinners he'd been prescribed after the first one. It seems these blood thinners prevented Charlie's blood from clotting properly. This, in turn, caused the stroke to be debilitating. According to doctors, they tried their best to reverse the effects of the blood thinners and get Charlie Daniels' blood to clot after the singer was brought into the hospital. But by that time, Charlie was no longer showing signs of life. His death occurred fairly fast and came as a huge shock to his family. Before we tell you more about it, be sure to give this video a like and subscribe to Facts First if you haven't already. Charlie Daniels had a history of heart problems. In 2018, around 8 years after suffering his first stroke, Charlie Daniels underwent surgery meant to improve the rhythm of his heart. He had been suffering from health problems for a while. He had even been implanted with a pacemaker and had significant problems with blood pressure. Charlie Jr. has claimed his father seemed to be doing better than he had in a while after the 2018 surgery meant to aid his heart rhythm. Many people paid their respects after Charlie's passing. There are a few saving graces in the tragic story of Charlie Daniels' death, and one is that the country legend was always a man of faith. It seems Charlie wasn't afraid of what awaited him after death. As Dolly Parton put it in a memorable tweet, "The devil went down to Georgia, but Charlie went straight to heaven." Though Devil Went Down to Georgia deals with the devil and may have shocked some listeners when it was released, Charlie Daniels was always a man of God. Later on, he even decided to take some of the cuss words and references to illicit substances out of his songs for all future performances. The country singer claimed he had changed a bit in his old age and no longer wanted to talk about smoking pot. Charlie is one of the rare country music artists who transcended time and has become a true legend by the time of his death, and there likely isn't a country musician alive who doesn't count themselves as influenced by his work. Some of the modern country stars who have publicly paid their respects after his passing include Jason Aldean and Luke Bryan. Charlie had a long and storied career. Though Charlie Daniels became one of the biggest names in country music, he started out small. He got his start as a session musician in Nashville long before striking it big. During those early days, he could be heard playing guitar on Bob Dylan's Nashville Skyline. That album was released in 1969, and Charlie's band started getting some attention of its own in the early 70s. Following the 1979 release of Devil Went Down to Georgia, the Charlie Daniels Band transcended the world of country music and became a full-blown pop sensation. Both Charlie and his band had worked incredibly hard to get where they were by the end of the 70s. During the decade, there were periods when they played close to 300 shows a year. By the time of his death, Charlie had played shows in nearly every corner of the world. He even toured the Middle East for American troops. In 1980, when The Devil Went Down to Georgia was taking the world by storm, Charlie made an appearance as himself in the film Urban Cowboy. The John Travolta-led film proved a major box office success and helped to popularize Charlie even more. The movie also led to country music becoming more mainstream in general, and the Charlie Daniels Band became the perfect gateway between traditional country music and more modern pop music. Charlie Daniels worked with many legendary musicians. In addition to playing with Bob Dylan, Charlie also got the chance to play with notable legends like Ringo Starr, Leonard Cohen, Claude King, and Marty Robbins. While Charlie was never afraid to use his voice, it's undeniable the musician's greatest talent was on the guitar. He could shred with the best of them, as evidenced by his band's most iconic track. Charlie Daniels didn't just perform country music, he also dabbled in gospel. He was certainly a man of faith, and his gospel work led to him earning a few Dove Awards. He wasn't invited to become a member of the Grand Ole Opry until he was in his 70s, an invitation he gladly accepted. Several years later, he was inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame. Now it's time to hear from you. What's your favorite memory of Charlie Daniels Jr.? Let us know in the comments section below. And before you go, make sure you give this video a like and subscribe to Facts Verse if you haven't already. Click the bell icon to stay updated on all our latest content. By the way, if you haven't joined Facts Verse as a member yet, be sure to look below this video and click the join button. By becoming a paid member of Facts Verse, you'll get access to exclusive video content that you won't find anywhere else. This includes some of our more mature content that isn't suitable for public audiences, which includes topics like Hollywood actresses who posed for Playboy and some of the steamiest moments in movie history. Plus, you can enjoy these videos completely ad-free. Our biggest fans will notice they also get badges next to their name when they leave comments on our videos. We pay special attention to comments from our members, and so do other viewers. So if you want exclusive content from FactsVerse or inside access to discussions with other community members, click the join button to get started for just $4.99. There are hours of members-only videos waiting for you, with new videos added every month. And we're actively working on bringing even more features to help fans like you connect with other members and get more of your favorite content. Just click join, and we'll see you inside the membership tab.